Okay, my phone ran out of memory and I had to upload the other video and blah 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 blah. But what I was saying is the other thing that we're doing that I'm involved in outside of performing and everything else is that I casually volunteer at a community center in Pittsburgh. It's the Gay and Lesbian Community Center, and there's resources for gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, genderqueer, just everybody down there. But there's a lot of people who are homeless that come in, and they're not always or even usually on the spectrum. There's a lot of straight people who come in, and it's just the vast majority of everybody that comes in there is young. There's this idea that there aren't a lot of young people on the street and homeless, and it's a little upsetting, actually. And I'm not in the best of situations. You know, I grew up in one house. I've moved a couple times. I had my own apartments, but the place that I always called home, uh, through situations, my brother kind of screwed me, my kids, and my grandkids over, and the house ended up being torn down. He didn't pay the bills, he didn't make the repairs, and that house, which was my home, is gone. So essentially, I am homeless. Um, there's a lot of people in situations. I got lucky. I'm staying with a friend. Uh, but there are people that I know who they aren't lucky. They're living in tents. One guy, the police know he's there, and as long as he's not messing up, it's cool that he stays there. But he's staying in a warehouse. He's homeless. Um, he's just in. He's someone who MHMR. Um, he's slow in a nutshell, and he's he's off his meds. Someone stole all his clothes. He was literally walking around with one of those little nylon backpacks with a few things in it, and he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. That's all he had in the world, because everything else was stolen. Um, Considering how I was living before they actually condemned the house, I learned how to do a lot of off-grid things, and I researched all kinds of just all kinds of things just to make life livable. So as bad as it was, it wasn't worse. And there's a couple of us. We're going to, so far it's three, who are going to start doing things because it's getting cold already. It's the middle of October. Well, closing in on the end of October, and well, actually, it's the last week of October. Um, it's getting ready to get stupid fucking cold. Like last year, even though I was in a house because the repairs weren't done that needed to be, my room was barely above freezing, and I had a heater. So there are things that I learned and that I did to survive that, and I want to share that with people because I really don't want to hear about somebody dying. It's like it's a bullshit reason. We live in the United States and we're leaving people to just die because people don't want to deal with, they don't want to look at it. They feel helpless. They don't want to look at it. And that's fucked up. How about you do a little bit of something? Nobody's asking you to solve the entire problem, but do something. uh so one thing that we thought of doing was to make these little candle heaters. You've probably seen them on YouTube. You take ceramic pots, a nut, a bolt, screw, some little tiles or whatever, and you know, you can make a radiant heater, and it helps. I mean, these things, they help, and you put a tea light under there to light it, and it can heat up a small enclosed area, which that's another thing. We're going to show this one guy how to close off his area, so when he uses one of these, between his body heat and one of these candle heaters, he doesn't freeze. um, Another thing is, people are hungry, and a lot of people, they still, a lot of these homeless people, they have jobs, and that is like the biggest kick in the fucking ass. They have jobs. They have to find ways to wash their ass so they can still go to work so they can eat. So these same people who have jobs but they can't afford to get an apartment because so many of these apartments right now, they want you to make 3 times what the rent is, and the rent is $600-700. Not not everybody makes that. Not even most people don't make that, and they want one person to make 3 times the rent. They don't want you to pool up with 2 or 3 other people. They want one person to be able to afford it. Um, there's a lot of people on the street, and but if you're not eating, how long can you really last? So again, looking on YouTube, and I found a video, and I found these before on how to make something called a rocket stove. But we found another one, and it's a little larger, and it's honestly a lot bigger. And it's still a rocket stove, but this one it's using a coffee can and a paint can. And, it's enough, you put a pot on it, you can actually cook a meal. It's big enough to actually cook something. It's a contained fireplace, doesn't have an exhaust, but it is contained, and, people will be able to eat. If they can get soups from the food bank or wherever, they can actually eat a hot meal. There's, you know, that is so taken for fucking granted. Being able to have a hot meal, you know, I understand that. I understand being able to have something hot in your stomach and the months it takes to get used to being able to eat real food again. So it's I want to make the rocket stoves and get these little heaters, because you can't use the rocket stove in a tent, it'll burn the tent down. But you know it's these rocket stoves that you can put leaves in them, sticks in them. I saw something else where you can take sawdust and candle wax, and you melt the candle wax, put it in the sawdust, and you can make these little patties, and they burn really slow. They'll burn for like an hour, and you can take little pieces of that as a starter, a fire starter. So you can put your sticks in there and get your fire started, and really have something usable for the long term. And with a paint can, it's got a handle, you can take it with you, so you don't have to look for a place to make a fire, you just have one. But that's something that we're trying to get started. So far, I might have a way to get close to, if not 50, of these little candle heaters. Um, but yeah, you know, not to get all Game of Thrones on it, but maybe yeah, winter is coming, and last year we had the polar vortex, and I have physical pains. I think I actually have arthritis now from being so cold last year, and I really want to limit as much as possible anybody else having to deal with that. So that's what that this is the part two. But yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Trying to do some good. I mean, I'm working part time, and it's really not enough to do what I really want to do. But I'm gonna start. I gotta get another job, a different job. I'm not into that. And just find alternate income so I can start doing this on my own and just helping people, because this is bullshit. The more I see of it, the more I'm seeing just how fucking selfish and nasty people are. I work as a telefundraiser, and there are great people I talk to on the phone, but then there are also some people who they give the money, but they really don't give a fuck. You know, they're generous with their money because they want to have bragging rights. Oh, I give too. And you know what? Fuck you. Get your hands dirty. You know, that's it for right now. But yeah, that's where I'm at. It's getting cold outside, and I really don't want anyone that I know to die.